welcome to Duality.
Good morning.
I'm your host, Ash, and I am just getting my phone started. So we are here. Welcome. And welcoming my guest.
Grateful
Dave.
to be here. Thank you for having me.
Grateful to have you here.
Shout out to Hub. This is a dream setup right here. Just like, wow.
And like the
It's
last
so cool.
dream come true. Like, and it's even in the last episode, we were just talking about like, hold on, let me catch my breath because I just ran from the other room. In the last episode, I mean, I guess 'tis the season because I have back-to-back Aquariuses on here. So
Shout out to Ken.
shout out to Kenny. Last episode we were talking about making your dreams come true. So being here and being in, and I know that's like a big slogan that you also talk about. And like,
That's so much to me.
I was thinking about that too, like how it's just so interesting how things flow organically in like such a cool way, and how everyone and everything that you're meant to align with just flows like when it's supposed to. If we're not like, you could have a vision, you could have an idea and a concept, you can have even like a date or a time in your mind in which you want to have something done, but it's just going to be when it wants to be.
So it's so true. I'm so big on, I say flow almost. It's like probably like top 10 words that I'm saying when I'm talking to someone else.
Yeah.
And but it's like the hard work and then also the letting it flow.
Absolutely.
And the trusting the moment and trusting the process, and so yeah, I'm honored to be here. I appreciate the tea.
Yeah.
And what's in the tea again?
So cheers.
It's like blue and stuff.
Yeah, cheers to the light and the dark, and find the balance in between. So the tea this is like the signature Dualitea tea, essentially. Kind of like, this is basically the baseline. It's butterfly pea and ginger and honey, of course, like if you're in the market for that stuff. And fun fact about butterfly pea, it actually helps you physically, your eyes, to be able to adjust and adapt into the dark. So I felt it was fitting.
So cool.
And although I forgot to bring my tea strainer, I made it work with the teapot. I just like angled it when I was pouring it out. When there's a will, there's a way. So it's just it was the tea that was meant to be made today. And like we got a little mango action going on. So feel free to have.
Really good.
I'm happy that you enjoy it. And I'm happy that you're here, man. Like I'm happy to share this space with other people. Right, it's like so now we're not hoarding our great conversations, right? We get to share it with the world.
I know. There's so many times I'm like, we'll just talk. I'm like, damn, like I should have recorded that, but you're not thinking that.
Yeah, because it's just.
But the
organic.
combos are just so good. But I remember we've had some good combos. I was just like,
literally,
wow.
like right outside this door.
Yeah, yeah. At the Wesley Folk Fest, and just every time I chat with you, I just love how much you care about things and people and just everything. Like you put so much thought into so much detail into so many things. So that's just great. So keep up the amazing work.
I mean, thank you for seeing that, man.
Everything.
Appreciate it. And I know that you do the same, and you do that for the community in a big way. And, I'm sure you do that for the people in your life just as the person that you are, and like that's an important thing. And it's like, I guess, like minds, we see each other, we cultivate great conversations because we come from the same kind of morals. I think that's so important when you have like compatibility in conversation, right? And in building and establishing like friendships or just any spectrum of anything, any kind of relationship. Like it's so important to be aligned in the same morals, and like if you're aligned in the same morals, I feel like that just makes everything so much more easeful. Like any conversation you have, even if it's like a little interaction, even if you don't know a person like that, if it's an easeful conversation, usually it's because they're aligning with something within you. And it just creates that space that you have the same kind of passions geared into the same direction, even if it's not on the same particular things. Like, okay, you cover those bases, I cover these bases. This is how it affects me, and this is why I do it. How does it affect you, and why do you do it? Which kind of brings us to the topic of like, finding the light in the darkness, right? I know this is a theme that you're saying that was coming up for you. I simultaneously feel like me and a lot of people I've been
Mm-hmm.
talking to, this has been like very much so prevalent. So I would love for you to share some insight on that.
Oh, of course. So it's ironic. It's interesting when we were talking about it. You were like, where could we go with the pod in a few days? And I just said something. You were like, light in the darkness, and that reminded me of something I did during the pandemic, because it felt we were all in the darkness. We couldn't leave, kind of even to see the daylight, and I kind of I wanted to connect with people. I wanted to see people and hear people's voices. So I was just like, hey, here's my phone number. Just leave a voicemail. And then I want to share the voicemail with anyone who's listening. And I just did it on my podcast. And I still remember the messages that people left me, from my friend Poet Gold to my mom, to my lady, to their family,
That's so cool.
So like and I was just like, leave a message for the world. Like if you could leave a message for the world, what would it be?
Oh, wow.
Right now? And the response, and it was called Pass the Light. So to me, that it's just, everything is just, even just a little candle in a dark room, a little bit of light could just go so far. Right? And just a little bit of kindness could help someone on a shitty day. I know I've had tough days, and sometimes I'll see someone, and sometimes it kind of ticks me off because I'm a little jealous of how happy they are in that moment. But then it kind of snaps me back, like, oh wow, like it's okay, like I could get back on track. So when you were like, light in the darkness, I was like, yo, this is fire, let's go. So it's everything. I think just being there for each other is so important, even if it's little glimpses, even if it's a reel's worth of conversation, opening a door, giving someone who's serving you ice cream who normally gets a 50-cent tip, giving them a 20. These they could be little flicks of moments, but we could kind of work. I think we could be in the driving seat when we're on the giving end. The receiving end, it's like we could filter it or take it how we want, but as a giver, I believe we're driving. So I could be either a jerk to the guy filming me right now and be like, yo, turn on my shit. Or I could be like, bro, like, you know what I mean? Or I could open someone's door. And then I could get mad if they don't say thank you. Or I could be like, no, I just wanted to open the door because I wanted to open the door. I didn't want to open the door because someone was going to say thank you.
No motives, yeah.
I love that. I love even talking about that with people. Like, I just opened the door. They didn't say thank you. Screw that person. Like, no, like you opened the door because you wanted to open the door. It didn't have to be about you getting a reward. Yeah. So
no one asked you to do that.
So yeah, I feel like we're in the driver's seat. And there's so many moments in a day, like we could make a little time for these little moments that could help someone in a big way, or even just a little way. And so passing the light is just so key.
And that the saying, like, you don't dim your light by lighting another candle. Like, how you do it every time it's someone's birthday. You like boom, 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 boom. The only you just can't dip it so much that way, because then you burn in the wax. But like, it's a different concept. That's science now. but just on the tip of like passing the light, like you're not gonna lose anything. Like your light's not gonna shine dimmer. In fact, it shines brighter when you tip it. So. Just like coming from that spectrum, like even what you were saying, like the little things, like the other day, I wasn't having the worst day. I wasn't having the best day. It was kind of like melancholy. There's some shifts that happened in my life, and I was just like, all right, like I really want ramen. Like it was just like, one of the things I was like fixated all day, and I was like working on my space that I'm renting, and like putting it together and like putting all these things, and I was like, okay, I have not eaten all day. I should probably eat something. So I went to this spot. Shout out to Hito Ramen on there's one on Victory.
Yes.
That's the one that I went to.
Right,
I know that
Pass.
they have one. Yes, right next to, yes.
They're good?
they are so good. Not only are they so good, but shout out to the woman who works there because she literally made me, like, she made my night. Like, I walked in and I was like, you know, I'm on a budget right now. I don't know if I got fancy ramen money. Let me, like, just peek in. And, like, I looked and she was, like, looking. She was just giving me, like, an endearing look. Like, she wasn't looking at me outside the window, like, what is this girl doing? You know what I mean? And I came in and she was like, I was like, okay. I'm like, what do you like here? And she's like, oh, you know, just told me a little thing. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'm gonna get the vegetarian one. So I got the veggie ramen, and she's like, you want an appetizer for $1?
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
they have that special. Yeah.
I was like, okay, I guess so. You want to help me pick it? Because I didn't even expect to come in here and get all that. But even that small interaction made a huge. She also, like, you know, she gave me a discount because she seen I was in scrubs. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just like it was a beautiful nice. It was a beautiful thing, a beautiful interaction. It's like, I know when I worked at Starbucks, like, I would always do things like that. Sometimes I would tell people, sometimes I wouldn't. You know, I would just be giving people discounts. I'd just be like, you know, I'm gonna give you a discount, like, because I wasn't drinking three Starbucks drinks a day, but you get them for free. You know what I'm saying? I don't work there anymore, so it don't matter. But you know, but I would pass them around because, like, they're good. You know what I mean? They're set. I'm sure people could benefit from just, you know, passing around that light and that love if you get the chance to, you know, even if it wasn't the discount. It was solely the interaction. It was just the way she spoke to me, the way she held eye contact, the way she cared about what my experience was going to be. And I was like, yo, like, I just look at people, I'll be like, I just met you, but, like, I love you. Like, you know, I don't always say that because people don't know how to, like, really take that sometimes. But, you know, but it's just, like, that love for humanity, because I feel like the darkness, right, we constantly get reminded of, like the shitty aspects of humanity. Like, it's in our face all the time, whether we're scrolling, whether we're listening radio, or watching TV, whatever it is, you know, even just opening up our eyes and walking outside, a lot of times we can see the shitty aspects. But how do you find that light? You know what I'm saying? If you don't find it, you got to be it.
You answered it. It's so true. I was literally at a restaurant the other day. You just reminded me. And we had a waiter. And then we had a busboy clean up everything. And this boy had the most perfect hair. Right? Like, I saw it, and I was like, I'm at a point in my life now where I don't hold back. And I don't care if I'm not, I don't get outlandish. I'm not, like, talking to a woman and be like, yo, you're super fly, you know, like that. But, like, even a dude to a dude, because sometimes there's a stigma of that. There's what are you? What is they gonna think of me? I'm like, nah, I'm with my girl. I didn't even think. I just saw his hair. I was like, bro, you got the most perfect hair. And he was like, you don't even believe. I was having the worst day ever. And that completely changed everything for me. And I was like, I didn't even know what else to say.
And it was just so natural that it just came out. You thought it, you felt it, and you were like, I'm not going to hold this back. I'm not going to hold this love. Why am I going to hold this love back? Yeah.
So, I'm big on that. And even supporting fellow dudes. Just being like, yo, bro, your suede shoes are extra crispy right now. Or, bro, how'd you get your skin looking like that? And people sometimes look at me like, bro, you may be being too much complimenting a dude. I'm like, nah, like, that dude put in time to put in effort, and, like, and you don't even, and I don't even overthink. I'm just like, I just saw something, I wanted to acknowledge it. It's not more than that.
I feel like when we overthink it is when it gets weird. I think that when we overthink it, because of the hesitation and that awkwardness, that breeds space for, like, the misunderstanding more so. Even so, when you know what your point is, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I like, why is it such a, like, so okay for women to, like, compliment other women, but men can't compliment other men? And, you know, it's just that, you know, hyper-masculine societal kind of outlook. But I know that that's being challenged right now, and I truly love that for men. I truly love that for y'all to, like, be able to explore that without necessarily having to be pinned for any kind of sexuality or preference. It's like, I could just want to compliment a human, you know, like, and that should be, you know, very much so more accepted and open in more spaces, and I really hope for that to be. And people like you are making that possible because you're going about it in a poised way, in a genuine way, and without motive. You're just like, yo, I like your shirt. Like that's it, you know. And that's, I feel like sometimes people get afraid to like say compliments to people, you know, or even especially in those kind of spectrums, you know, even opposite sex. Sometimes, you know, it's just like if you're like, I don't want to get received like I have a motive, and it's like, you know, someone just messaged me, I believe yesterday. They were like, yo, like, I'm not trying to slide in your DMs, but I just want to let you know, like, what you post has been helping me through a hard time. And I was like, oh, like, thanks, dude. You know,
that's
cool. Like, yo, like, just being straight up. Like, I appreciate your transparency because, like, you know, I don't know if I don't know you and you're messaging me, I'm like, I don't always assume, but unfortunately, like, a lot of times that's what's going on. So it's
ladies,
like
ladies don't have it easy, and they have
it's
to
a weird
definitely
world to navigate.
Yeah.
But the thing is, y'all have it too in a different way, you know. Like
I think we have it the easiest, dudes.
Yeah, you
and
know.
me as a white dude, like I know I have it the easiest.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
know ladies get it. Disrespect. There's so many things they have to filter and see. Yeah, so shout out to all the ladies out there, because shout out to you all.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Because, like, you know, what sucks, like, going to a park and having to worry about your well-being every single time, you know, and having to worry about, like, I was having a conversation. I have this conversation frequently with a lot of my guy friends where I'm like, you know, if they're like, oh, yeah, I walked in the park, like, I'll, like, joke around. I'm like, oh, it must be nice. You didn't bring a pepper spray with you? You didn't bring a knife with you? Oh, cool, you know? And it's like, some people, like, some men don't even think about it. Like, oh, shit, like, you don't feel safe pretty much anywhere by yourself, you know, which is a whole other light in the dark spectrum, which, you know, something that I encourage, man, which once again is something that you're doing, is like that acknowledgement. And then like, as a follow through, I think it's important, like, whether it's platonic, romantic, whatever the spectrum is, whether it's your coworker, whether it's a person you don't even know, if you see it, like, you know, it's dark outside, or like something's like weird going on, you know, just to, like, even if you don't approach it, because sometimes if you approach it, they're like, I don't know you either, like, the danger, you know, but just keeping an eye out, like, when you're out, like, keep an eye out on women, like, keep an eye out on children, like, it's just, you know, important. It's important, and it's real. And like, that's also being the light in the darkness, is like providing that protection and that safety. And it's like, it's not that it's not that we're like damsels in distress and we can't, you know, fend for ourselves, but like, I couldn't open up that jar of honey before. I'm woman enough to pass it to you to help me. Yeah. You know, like,
it's like, no, gotta look out for our fellow brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And people.
People in general. Yeah. Anyone in between that, and it identifies as anything in between, because it's like, you know, it's a spectrum. Like, all of us have masculine and feminine energy. If that doesn't feel good for you, everyone has yin and yang. Everyone has light and dark, right? Light and dark doesn't mean good and bad. It just means different polarities. Negative doesn't actually mean negative, you know what I mean? It just means other. Like, and it's just a matter of, I mean, it's such a spectrum on that. It's a whole, like, topic within itself that I don't know if anyone will still understand in this lifetime. You know, it's just philosophy.
I feel you. What was leading a lot leading up to my birthday that recently happened.
Word, happy birthday!
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I was going through a lot of raw emotions. I work out of where I grew up. I turned when I left my office a few years ago during the pandemic, I reformatted my old room where I grew up, and I turned that into my office, and I haven't left since, and it's completely stereotyped out, top to bottom, every corner. I'm using a space, but you tap into a lot of memories, where you grew up, loves. Certain times, moments, good and interesting. So I kind of, and I'm alone. I'm not talking to people throughout the day. I'm just locked in, creating all day. So I go through these ups and downs of just thoughts, and be like, well, could I have done something different here? And I'm like, well, I can't. You're still in the realization as you had to go through it that way to get to where you are now.
Yeah.
But I've been going through a lot of like anger management within myself. And I do talk to many people. I go on pods. I have my own pod, which is very healing. But I can't do that when I'm at work all the time. So I was, a lot of the time I go through these like, I kind of call it like anger management. It's like feeling something really raw, and then it's like, how do I let it go? How do I drop it? Or how do I share it, maybe even in a new format, without putting someone on blast, without hurting someone's feeling, being like, oh, well, this person hurt my feelings this time.
Yeah.
So I'm even learning how to retell the stories.
Yeah.
And just find ways to connect with other people who have similar stories. So I've been feeling this with these raw emotions pretty much all month.
Yeah.
Like extra crazy. But now it's almost like, oh, wait, this is actually a side of me that exists. This is a side that I've kind of either put a sheet over, threw under the bed, threw in the closet, hid, put in my back pocket. And I'm like, no, this is actually a side that exists and that I have to feed. Yeah. And I've been just feeding it different ways. I've been feeding it through storytelling. I've been feeding it through conversation, while still maintaining the respect of the people that hurt me. Because there are some, and that I have forgiven, but I'm like, well, I have to find peace with these things.
Yeah.
And even though I have found peace, things reoccur.
Yeah.
Things come back.
And
so
some things are stored in the body, some things are stored in physical space. So like you might have mentally worked it out, and then like you do a back bend, a stretch, and all of a sudden like it comes rushing back in. Yeah.
So I've been dealing with that, and then I've also been dealing with the fact of I always hear this, oh, no regrets, no regrets, no regrets. I think that's bullshit. I'm at a point now of saying, I do regret this, and really facing the raw, because I think it's silly to be like, oh, no regrets, because I don't think you're actually facing it. I think you're kind of throwing it under the bed, at least me. I'd be like, oh, no regrets. Oh, I hurt this person's feelings. Oh, no regrets. They screwed me over. They stabbed me in the back. Like, no, I have a regret that I didn't fill out that paperwork. I have a regret that I scummed this person over the day I met them. I don't have too many of those stories, but there's stories where I'm on the receiving end of being stabbed, right? And for me, it's like, no, I'm going to actually say I regret this and face it the rawest way and feel that raw feeling, so it triggers me to be a changer. Yeah. And I'm at this point where I'm embracing love, but I'm also embracing like the raw emotion of things. And I'm like, how do I put them both together?
Yeah, it's creation and destruction.
Yeah.
Both are necessary.
It can't all just be love.
No,
and I've been on that tip for a long time, even through being stabbed, being kind of rocked, knocked down many rounds. I'm like, oh, well, I'll just keep coming back with love. And I'm like, one of my closest people, they're very raw, and they just say no to things when it's not right. And I can't say I've always done that, and I've kind of stolen some of their powers of them being like, nah.
Well, maybe not stolen. You got inspired to invoke your own.
Yeah. I mean that in like a good way.
Yeah.
Steal like an artist, being inspired so much, you adapt those things. Yeah. And
but they can't come from anywhere if they're not generated from you, or else they won't last. So I just want to affirm you in that.
Yeah. So just feeling those things and just being like, it's okay to have a chip on your shoulder, but
where your head's too big to not walk through the door for it, right?
Yeah. Like, it's weird. I enjoy having a chip on my shoulder, but I'm like, I'm really good at love, that I know that I'm in control, and I'm not going to ruin the chip on my shoulder and make things even worse.
Mm-hmm.
I want to use the chip on my shoulder and kind of reformat it to a Hadouken that I share with love or share with a story that could then help other people.
I feel like that's authenticity. You know what I mean? That's being real with yourself and others. You know, it's like to be like, oh, you know, like love and light only all the time, good vibes only. When I say good vibes only, I'm like literally like that. It's like I'm just like, so you have no space for any other human emotion here? Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. All right. And it's like I get it because, you know, especially when we are around such like negative spectrums for so long, we're like, I need the extreme, only this other side, you know, fuck the darkness. I just want the light now. And it's like, once again, yin yang, you need both, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then once you start villainizing one, and like, because some people are backwards, and like sometimes people villainize the light too, you know? Yeah, like it's everything feels different to everyone. And I think that, you know, what you were saying, I like can resonate extremely a lot right now in my life. And it's like, especially with those narratives of just like, you know, you're not the villain, I'm not the victim, I'm not the villain, you're not the victim. You know, we had an experience like this shit did not feel good. Like this was not great. Like I regret some things, but I'm gonna forgive myself. And I'm going to forgive you too. And if I don't acknowledge that I regret it, then I'm not acknowledging the fact, then I'm saying I'm okay with that behavior. So therefore, I'm going to be like, yeah, I regretted that, but regretted because I've been actively working to forgive myself. You know, and I feel like that's the balance in the spectrum I found with that because it's like constantly saying I regret is me constantly reliving that same thing. It's like visceral. Like I'm the type of person like, when I tell a story, I'm like there again. Like it doesn't matter how long I could be telling you a story from when I'm 4. Like I'm there. Like and I feel it. You know, it's like time travel when we speak. That's why we have to be mindful of what we repeat. It's okay to share things, but if we're constantly saying the same narrative, like don't be surprised if that starts to manifest in your life because you're kind of like conjuring it, right? Like intentionally or unintentionally. So. Spelling spells words, you know, stuff like that, you know, if you're into that woo kind of aspect, but even if you're into just like the magnetism, you know, of just like more on the science tip, it's still a thing. And, you know, believing words of affirmation, fake it till you make it, all this shit, it's saying the same thing. Whatever path you want to believe it on, you know, you could dress it in whatever flavor you enjoy. But all that to say, like, you know, I think that's a big part of the healing aspect is when you can get to that point where you're like, wow, like that was shitty, but like I'm ready to like feel this and like neutralize it by letting it run its course. Like that's a big thing. People don't let shit run its course. And then everyone's like, you're still not over it. Like that. I did an episode on grief. And I wasn't even just talking about when people die, although I was talking about that a lot too. I was talking about like when you end a relationship, you know, when sometimes it's before you end a relationship that you grieve, you know, sometimes it's like even during that process, you know, sometimes it could be 4 years after a relationship where you're still grieving. Like there is no right or wrong way to go about your process. And nobody should guilt or shame you for still processing things that were impactful in your life. Like, that's not up to anybody to choose what timeline you got. No one's marking you with an expiration date. And if they did, wipe that shit off because that's not even your ink. That's not even your stamp. You know what I mean? That's someone else's spectrum and time frame. And that's not fair. And if you do it to yourself, like, I feel like I know for myself, like, I could be a little extreme at times, but I've been like really working on that balance. And when I would feel like, okay, I need to like, I'm feeling into this, I'm feeling those raw emotions, I need to stop everything I'm doing and just focus on this. And even doing that, I needed to learn boundaries. Like, okay, I'm gonna just focus on this for 10 minutes, not a week, not
Yeah.
a day, because then it's going to hinder me from doing the things that I need to do. And I can't do that. Now, I don't got time for that now. You know what I mean? Maybe I had time for that when I was younger. Don't got time for it now. So, like, with all due love and respect to those aspects of myself that are coming up to heal, it's like I feel like those raw emotions, you got to treat them like children, right? Like, having those boundaries, you know, acknowledging them and, like, not ignoring. If you ignore them, that's going to manifest into some really fucked up shit later on, you know? Or if, like, you know, but if you acknowledge them, or like, listen, honey, like, I hear you. I got to finish what I'm doing, and then we can get back to this conversation. You know, just because it's a raw emotion. It doesn't have logic. It doesn't have rationale. It just has feelings. So it's like, if we don't set those boundaries, like, you can't be mad at a kid who's just learning how to human. If you're not structuring boundaries, like, all we can do is create a safe space for it to exist and come back to when we're both ready to have that meeting.
That's interesting, because I'm not always the best when people give me a boundary. People don't give me boundaries too often, but when they do, I'm so into wanting to share my point or my view. There's a clash sometimes. So it's so interesting, because everyone's designed their own way, and everyone has their own needs, right? Some people like a little tea, some people like a lot. I like a lot, but some people don't always want a lot of tea. And then I have to adapt and be like, oh, okay. I'm big on lately is just like, screw the right and wrong of, like, or pointing the finger at the right and wrong. Oh, you're right, I'm wrong. What? Accepting accountability is everything. Your right and my right are maybe two different things. Your view and my view are two different things. Our takes are different. It's like, okay, well, let's welcome them both here. And let's just, my goal is to understand it. Am I going to do amazing always? Probably not. But I want to welcome it. And that's been a big thing with me, just raising topics a lot of the time on social or just in person or whoever. Okay, you feel this certain way about this. I feel my way. I want to hear you out, not judge. Even if I am feeling a little judgmental, be aware of that and be like, okay, well, let me hear more than judge. Let me hear more than judge, and let me try to understand who this person is.
You're like putting yourself in the arena.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I've been doing this work on my own in my room, but, like, how am I gonna apply it with people? That's cool. Because
I'm constantly having convos with people I don't agree with all the time on certain topics, or they feel so strongly about how maybe I should live my life or how they should live theirs and no one else should. It's like, okay, well, I could still love this person, even though they may have voted for this person, even though they live here, even though they hate this, even though they're against this, and I love this. How could I still love them my own way? Because maybe they can't be in my day-to-day, all day, every day. But by understanding them and understanding myself, I could figure that out.
And you can hold that love instead of that hate or that resentment.
Yeah.
Even if that person, like, there's been plenty of people, like, I feel like in the past few years, especially, like, that, you know, with the pandemic, with everything happening, like, a lot of people just showed up. And if they didn't show up, you just seen who showed up and who didn't show up, or with the capacity to, and who didn't. You know what I'm saying? If you take the judgment out that sentence, you could just, like, leave it as, like, people showed what they were capable of and what they weren't. And when a lot of people showed, like, the color spectrum where they were at, and, you know, when it didn't fit in my palette anymore and I had to kind of remove it, something I remind myself is like, well, just because, you know, you remove these people from your life doesn't mean that you hate them. You know, it's like that saying, like, you know, just because you're not sitting at the table, or you're sitting at the table and don't should be fed. You know what I'm saying? It was something like that. I don't remember exactly. But it's I want everybody to eat. Oh, I want everybody to eat, just not at my table. That's kind of the spectrum. And, like, even this morning, like, I had a dream with, like, 3 people that I just haven't communicated with in a long time that, like, we're, like, not on the best terms. And, like, I woke up and I was like, it's so interesting. Like, you know, I hope that they're well. you know? I just hope that they're well.
Yeah.
Because, like, what? It was just, like, random people. It wasn't even, like, some, like, people I think about on a daily basis, you know? And so I was just like, I hope that they're well. And, like, how they were interacting in the dream was so interesting because they were, like, with one another. So it's, like, I feel like my brain was, like, that's where they live, you know, they live together in that space, and I could still love them from a distance. I couldn't interact with them maybe in the dream realm, just not in this realm, because that's how much we oppose in different views. But that doesn't mean that there's not still love there.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't mean that there's not still their care. You know, like the thing is like whether I have somebody as a friend, a relationship, you know, coworker, like any person, a person I just had a conversation with, like I love people. Like I love people with my whole fabric and being. I will think about people. I will like pray for people who've done the wrongest to me. Like I've sat in different ceremonies and have shared prayers for them because that's just how I view it. You know what I mean? Like it's not even like I don't even want a pat on the back for that. Like I shouldn't get one. Like this is just how I feel. Like that's just what I do. Like you know what I mean? I don't know who else does that. And then some people I do meet that do that and share it. It's not often because we're not the ones who are talking about it. We're just doing it. You know, and like that's
good you could do that.
The spectrums of healing is interesting because I couldn't always do that. I was like, fuck you, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it took me a little bit. I'm not the perfect person, you know, like it certainly came from the spectrum of like, I like romanticized the darkness for a while, like, and not in the aspect of like doing, like the perceived darkness of doing harm, but more so of just like how I understand yin yang, how I understand light and dark is that the dark is the feminine. It's the formless mystery that cannot be controlled and that things are destroyed, essentially. Created as well, yes, but like the aspect of not woman, but the aspect of feminine is more destruction, right? And then the yang, the light aspect would be the masculine, the straight line, the angular, the constructive, disciplined, you know. And obviously I'm talking about more of the positive aspects of both. I didn't really get into the negatives, but like it's the creator, right? And I feel like because of certain experiences, I personified people and things in like the sun and the moon, and anything that was symbolic of the sun, I was like, fuck that shit. Like, fuck the sun. Like, I was very much like, I want nothing to do with the sun. I am the moon. Like, and I want to embody everything that has to do with the moon. And, you know, but obviously the moon cannot have light without the sun, right? The moon will exist, but it'll exist in the darkness. And that's something that I had to like really do a lot of like sitting and integrating with in a lot of different spectrums. And it's just, you know, how I brought it, how it came to me was like, because I think that it's also, you know, that aspect of what we were talking about a little bit before is like societally, you know, we've shifted more into that, like that solely yang, like yin cannot exist, like darkness cannot exist because we don't understand it. If we don't understand it, we can't control it. So if we can't control it, we don't want nothing to do with it, you know? And like, and I think that not only does that happen, but that happens not only like gender based, but like if regardless of your gender, if you have more of a feminine aspect, like people get like that with you. Like you're so creative, you're so abstract. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to place you. Like you make me afraid because you're a mystery to me, you know, and maybe they haven't tapped into that mystery within themselves. And that could be afraid. That could be scary. So
that's so interesting because here I am saying I really embraced the sun, the light, so much, and I kind of was like kind of hiding from the moon almost, or not bringing the moon with me. And then here you are kind of saying
that was the opposite.
The opposite, which is so interesting. Here we are on the opposite sides of this, and now we're uniting our conversation. But
yeah,
it's so real. They're just there's good and bad, not good and bad, but there's light.
Yeah,
there's different. There's light and dark to so much stuff, and I'm finding. I don't even want to say peace, but I'm finding a better understanding in the dark, in the moon, or in the dark, or in the raw emotions. Because for so long, I've always tried to project the light always. And I'm even known as that. People like, oh, yo, Dave's the most positive dude. Dave's the most positive dude. Oh, he always... And what I shared was, but I was kind of a lot of the time I was going through a darker time to even get to that, or I was saying that to make myself feel better. And, you know, I'm fortunate. I don't really deal with depression. I know a lot of people deal with lots of things that could really hinder their day, really hurt them, slow them down. So I'm very lucky that I don't really deal with depression that heavy. I'll have little stints. I'll feel raw emotions, but I know some people have it way harder than me. Yeah, like it's very difficult for them. So my heart is with all them. And I always tell anyone, if I'm also known as someone who's very busy, and I am, but I always tell people I'm never too busy if you message me.
Yeah.
And you say, hey man, like, how do I sell my stuff here? Or how do I put a postage label on this? I want to ship my first cap. Like, I'm never too busy. I may not respond in that moment right there, but I respond to every message on IG as long as it's a real person.
Yeah.
Not trying to send me, not trying to take my Cash App or password of something. Mm-hmm. And I'll even respond to those people in a silly way. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if anyone's listening, and even if you don't know me, feel free to send me a message, Dave Noodles, on Insta. If you're trying to create some more stuff, or maybe you've hit a wall, or you're trying to maybe do what you love more, or even turn your love to your job, I'd be happy to offer some feedback and some advice, or just some tips that have worked for me.
Yeah. And that helps, you know, fan your light too. You know, it helps you fan your light and to pass that out, because it's like, I feel like, I don't know I'll speak for myself, but I feel like you'll be able to relate. It's like, you know, taking so much time and dedication into your pocket, your niche, your field. You hit a certain point where it's like you just can't hoard the knowledge anymore. No. Not that you ever intended to, but like you just become aware, like, oh, snap, like I've been accumulating knowledge on this topic for like 10 plus years. Like, maybe I should like make a class, or like, how can I get this out there? Like, do you need it? Here, take some. You need it, take some, you know, and it's like,
that's the best moment.
Offering that and being able to acknowledge that. I feel like it's like, it makes more space for you. It's like your cloud is full. You're like, you gotta go through your pictures. You gotta delete some apps. You gotta uninstall some things, and you can also like share some things. You can give some things away. You know, that's like you're not even using it anymore. Boom. You know.
Yeah.
That could be exactly what that person needs.
That's so crazy, because that's literally, I feel my next chapter in my life is just sharing and helping to not make the next Dave Noodles, but help the next person become the next them. Yeah. Or the first them. Yeah. And embrace being the first you. Mm-hmm. The way I found when I stopped trying to be the next M, or the next Ye, or the next G-Eazy, or whoever it was, right? Or Mac Miller. Once I stopped that, I was like, no, I want to be the first Dave. Yeah. And now I'm on this, I hope, and I'm going to tell my story. I want you to want to be the first you. Yeah. And then help people start businesses, help people start their own merchant brands, either with me or completely on the other side of the world. And then I'm not holding no baggage on my boat. And then my boat is empty, and I have more room to put more stuff on it, more supplies, more people. Yeah. If I'm just carrying all this stuff. And I'm not the only person who, that sells 6 figures in merch. I very rarely say that, but I've been saying it more so people could be like, oh, he doesn't just sell a few T-shirts. Like, like we've done 6 figures in sales selling shirts. That's so I'm like, if I could do it, you could do it. Because I'm not even where I want to be completely. And if I could even get you to 5 figures a year, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
And even if I'm making nothing off that, just knowing someone far away, or even like a kid in Wagner High School was able to do that, is everything. And that's my goal. I want to help kind of like 1,000 people start their own clothing brand. Because I'm not going to be selling my brand to their friends in freaking Ohio. They're not going to be buying my stuff. It's not like competition.
Yeah, no, it's like it's everyone's going to resonate. Because like maybe one person might not, but one person might be like, oh my God, yes, like I definitely want that. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's so much for everyone. Like the analogy of like how many hair salons, nail salons, barbershops are like right next to each other. But there's a person who's always going to go to that same place because that's the person that they like the way they cut their hair. They like the way it makes them feel. That's their experience with them. And that's how it is even with online brands. It's like the experience. Someone could be on your Instagram and be like, I really resonate with what you're talking about. Oh, wow, like your brand is stereotype. Wow, that's really cool. Like, this is like you're talking about the spectrums of people. You're talking about, oh, I feel seen. I feel heard. I feel good to wear this shirt. You know what I'm saying? I feel good to put on this hat, to know and like represent not only like, because that's the thing with your brand is like, it's not just the story. It's the embodiment. I know, at least for me, it's an embodiment thing. I don't really buy things unless I feel like it's embodied personally.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's so real. Yeah. And the minute I stopped making it about my story and made my story helping people share their story, my whole life changed.
Yeah, well, it's a part of your story too, though.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the cool thing, because it's like, once again, light and dark. You got to have both.
Let's share.
Can't be just about everybody. Can't be just about you.
Exactly.
And it's just like finding what that looks like in between. If you feel like it's just about you, okay, how do I make it about other people? If you feel like it's just about other people, how do I make it more about me? And it's like, it's interesting because, like, we're talking about the sun, the moon, the polarity, and the things of that sort. Like, you're talking about, like, how you were perceived in the public eye as, like, the person who's always positive. And I don't want to say I had the complete opposite experience, because I don't think people perceived me as being negative. But I was, like, infamous. I wasn't, like, popular. I was infamous growing up. Like, I was known for, like, questionable things. Okay. And like I was like on the loudspeaker all the time, getting suspended. Like, I graduated from Aloretta, like, and like I understand why I did. You know what I mean? And I'm not ashamed of it. Because behind the scenes, although people are like, oh my God, you graduated from Aloretta, like you were going here and you were doing that, and like, oh my God, like girl, you're always on loudspeaker. You were like, the reality of what I was doing was being a vigilante, so there was like morality there, there was just being a loner, like, and being like, I didn't like the school setup. I used to leave middle school to go to Dunkin' Donuts and just listen to my iPod and drink white hot chocolate, like literally, like that's it, like just by myself. And just sit there, but I was getting in trouble. So like people are always like, oh, like you're infamous for this stuff. So it's interesting coming from, like, once again, that moon spectrum of like kind of the darkness. Like, well, how are you coming into this light? But like, the thing I find so interesting as well with on a physiological level, men operate on a 24-hour solar system, like your bodies, your hormones, things of that sort. Like it comes from the sun, right? And then women, our bodies operate on a 28-day cycle like the moon. And so we're literally in phases. Like every time you're having a conversation with a person who is like a woman, who is having the experience of having a womb, like that is a spectrum of like 4 different phases you're going to meet them. So physiologically, it's so interesting how there's just these common denominators that you can recognize. I feel like that's a spectrum of duality and of light and darkness that I've been very privy to recently. Is just like, I was watching my brother-in-law help me put up the shelves in the space that I'm renting, and I was watching him just like tape measure, like everything fast, and it's like, I can do that, but that shit's not natural to me. Like, nah, like I can absolutely do it, but like that's gonna take me a lot longer. It was like riding a bike for him, but riding a bike for him isn't easy for me because I'm not good at riding bikes either, right? So like everything's a spectrum, and I feel like rather than having guilt and shame about that, or like it's just more so like I've been appreciating, you know, and if you don't resonate with like the male feminine aspect, just like the yin yangs of humanity, right? And just like observing it and not judging it, and like just coming from a neutral space of like, not like, oh, I want to have that, or I don't have that, or I could use that. It's more like I could use that, like, oh, like I could use that, but not that. Like I could use you around, like you're beneficial to me and I'm beneficial to you, and us interaction, you're helping me put up the shelves, and I'm having good conversation with you that feels nourishing for you, and like you're my family and I love you, and like you're getting that interaction and new scenery, and like this, like we have deep philosophical conversations as well, so I'm sure like that's something that he could get out of it, you know, and I get out like the stability and the structure, and something put in my wall that I don't have to like,
that's real.
I don't have to worry about. Like if I put it in there, I would have had to like take a long time of worrying, you know. So my point of saying that is like, yes, we can do it alone, and but why do it alone if you can do it with others?
Of course.
And like also not on like the codependent aspect of like I need, but like no, I get to have this podcast with you. I could do it alone, sure. I have plenty of episodes alone, but I get to have a podcast with you. That's fucking dope. Like I get to hear your perspectives, your experience, your voice, like your world. You know, you get to share not only with me but with anybody who's listening, and I think that if we just start looking at people like that, we could appreciate even the people that we don't necessarily like, because you don't have to like everyone.
Of course.
You could just appreciate like, oh, like that's that person having that kind of experience. Well, maybe they're having that kind of experience, and that's what's making me have this kind of experience, because that vibration, even just existing, is making me vibrate this way. You know, so you could always find the light in the dark if you just give yourself the space to.
That's so real. In this book I'm reading, The Richest Man in Babylon, the richest man in Babylon is giving advice to people that do not have as much as him, and he said he seeked it. He seeked the masters in those fields. He didn't learn about investing from someone who knew nothing about it. He seeked the people that were very good at it, who have proven themselves, and digged as deep as he could into them and learned from them. And then he didn't just learn, he applied it, and then he saw results. And it's so true. I see it all the time. Oh, well, I could just put this hoop together, and then I didn't read the instructions, and the hoop is falling apart, and it's like, I didn't want to pay the $150, and it's like, no, there's a guy across the street. You could have worked all day. You could have made it. You know, it's perspective, right? But sometimes I think it usually always pays off to find someone who is a master. Of course, you're going to kind of date around, not dating around, but like finding the right person. Yeah. But then they help you with what they're amazing at. And then there's a win-win for everyone.
It feels good. Like I love to like, whether it's payment in the sense of like financially, or doing an exchange or like some kind of bartering. Like, I love giving people something for what they do. Like I love making the tea for my guests that come here. Like I love I love giving to people that are giving to me. Like it's like, oh, you poured some, here's some more. You know, it's like I don't know if you're familiar with the tarot card. It's got the temperance, and it has like the cups. And they're just like pouring back and forth. And then like also like you're an Aquarius. Like, dude, literally your sign is all about pouring water into the earth. Like the thing that's interesting about Aquarius is like, you know, it's kind of in a spectrum all elemental because it's an air sign, right? People get confused because the aqua, but it's the air sign and it's the water carrier, right? It's like that protector. You need the intelligence in order to carry the emotions, right? You need the intelligence to carry, and then water is the first medicine. It's the giver of life. It's literally what sustains. Like you can go like months, I think, or like a month at least with just water, but like you can't go long without water. Like, you know, you go without food but not water. And when you go without water, if you ever want to know who the fuck you really are, take a pass, you know, just sit with that a little. And like that's a whole other conversation. But you know, the spectrum of Aquarius that I find is so interesting is just like, you know, there's the air aspect, so the intelligence to carry the water is the emotions, and it's but it's giving it back, right? It's pouring it, and when you're pouring it, you're giving it back to the earth, you know. And like Aquarius is super humanitarian energy, right? It's like the spectrum of like, how can we help the planet? Like it's bigger than us, you know. So it's so real. I just like I appreciate y'all, you know, back-to-back Aquarius season. Actually, no, I think it's when I shifted into Pisces season, but still, you know, today is the 22nd. Yes, we're in Pisces season, but listen, we're low-key still giving Aquarius season, so, you know. But
you say you've said some great things about how like hoarding, there really is no point of it. No. Because there's no room to then put either a new idea, a new person, sharing a new gift. It's better to just, at least for me, looking at myself in life, I've never had more from giving less. Never. It's like a proven fact. The more that I hoarded, the more that I stayed to myself, the more that I didn't share, the more that I said, oh, this is only my idea, or I'm not going to share this, I could look back and it's a fact. I've had less every time. When I've completely said, I'm going to let this go, I'm going to share this, I'm going to give this. Oh, they don't have money, but I'm going to still give them consulting. Of course, you can't do that all day. You can't. You can't just sit on the phone and talk to people for 24 hours. No, only giving your advice for free. No, but like when I completely just dropped my guard and was like, all right, I'm just going to help this. Oh, this person and I let that guard down of, I'm not going to just get paid for what I'm doing. I just want to keep doing this as much as I can. Yeah. The amount of new things that came to me I don't even want to use the word infinite, but it completely replenished every time I unloaded.
Yeah, because that's that flow. That's the organic flow of like you genuinely doing, like, you know, it's like that saying of like, if you do something that you love to do, you don't work a day in your life. And it's like, of course, you have to put work into it, but it's not a burdensome as like, oh, I gotta go clock in. Like, you know, I'm sure there's days, but it's like, but your soul feels fed, it feels nourished, and it gets replenished in that aspect. And like giving that space, that accessibility, I think is so important for people. Like for myself, I came from the aspect of like, I did not charge anyone for anything for so long. and then I shifted and said, okay, like I have to eat, you know. And like, and also my elder, you know, he always said to me like, Mija, even if you're not getting money, like someone has to give you something, like pick you a flower from outside, bring you some food, like you need to have something in exchange. And that's like within that understanding, like I'm like, okay, yeah, we're like, that's absolutely true. Then implementing that, like I have a balance of like, I used to do a lot of things for free. Now I'm still working out my boundary with it, but I do at least pro bono. Of course. I'll do a scholarship for a person like each month, for any of the services that I offer.
Nice.
Specifically, I cater towards a demographic that is like not normally catered to, and but not limited to. Whoever qualifies for it, I just ask, like, just tell me why you want it.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me why you want it. Like, it doesn't have to be. I'm not a professor. I'm horrible at spelling. My grammar is absolutely absurd. But simultaneously, but the meat, the soul is there. So I just voice the text all day long, right? So I just say, like, yo, you could tell me, like, you want to write it down. Even if you're voice to texting it, like, yo, just write it down. Let me know why you want this, and then you can have it.
That's real.
Might not be this month, might be next month, but you can have it. And, just I feel like making opportunities and spectrums like that for people is, like, that's what made me be able to charge people. That's like the spectrum. Like, some people are more comfortable with charging people. I don't know what really determines a person from that to that. It could be a lot of things, but I come from the spectrum of, like, I have to convince myself. Well, I had to, because now I'm like, nah, like, I know my worth. Like, I know.
Oh, yeah.
I have
can't
money
all be
to.
Free.
Yeah, it can't. And it's like, well, if I like to go get a facial, and I love giving the person money at the end of the day, like, why not? When it comes to spiritual things, I'm like, I still do spectrums, I still do scales, sliding scales, and I still do donations. Like, and I don't know if that will ever change, because spirituality is a different aspect. And
of course.
The monetization off that is just a little different. But, like,
of course,
following the things that are for you, following the things that are for you tend to be for other people too, right? Like, whether they get affected directly or indirectly, even just you existing and following whatever it is that you feel like you are meant to do, whether it's creating music, creating clothes, creating, safe spaces for people to exist, creating art, whatever it is, like, whether directly or indirectly is going to affect people, like, even, like, the spectrums of, like, sometimes I forget to think about it in the aspect of, like, the podcast. Like, you have a podcast too. Like, this is a part of that. This is a part of us sharing, not hoarding, and expressing. And it's something that we love to do, and we're doing it, you know? And like, I don't know what your experience. I would love to ask you, like, how'd you get into your podcast and stuff? Like, for me, like, the story is, I never wanted one. Like, I kind of had one dropped on my lap. This is the podcast for people that don't really want to be on a podcast, like, in a funny kind of way like that. So, like, I would love to ask you, like, how did you get into your podcast? Like, what made you decide, like, this, I'm going to do this. I'm going to grab this mic and.
Yeah, it was kind of similar. Make a Park Radio. They were like, hey, we want to do this. So there was kind of that warmth of very little politics, because a lot of them was always like, oh, you got to pay $500 a month, you got to do this. There's all, because they're giving you a service. They have a professional recording you, filming you, all these things. Yeah. Make a Park Radio, when I started, there was no politics. We were all volunteers. It was just, I was like, oh, well, this is cool. I always wanted I could have a radio show, and then it was just so easy because I just had to show up. They had the whole infrastructure. They had the recording. They had the booth. So that made it very easy, because I didn't have any of those overheads. Yeah. Because a lot of the time you need gear. You need this. They had that all going, and I was volunteering at the station. And then so I started doing it, and I did it, growing up, listening to radio, listening to locks, to freestyles, listening to Funk Flex and Jay-Z and the conversations. Like, to me, that those are still so impactful to me. And I was like, well, I want to do that on a local level, underground level, and put on people that I love and that I respect, or people that I think people should know about. Yeah. And then it became a healing thing, because talking to people, I didn't realize how special it was. And then I saw that I actually had a little power where I could actually get someone to talk to me for an hour, which is not possible ever, besides maybe my mom, at a drop of a dime, where I could just say, hey, could I talk to you? And she would sit there an hour without checking her phone, without leaving, without being she would get distracted, but still would focus on me. Like, her phone would still ring, and she would answer it and then get right back to me. But I couldn't get that anywhere else besides the pod, and then I got addicted to that feeling of just being able to talk to someone for an hour.
Oh, wow.
And then when pandemic hit, it almost like saved my life almost, because it was those interactions with people.
And maintain that connection to society.
It enabled me to stay connected, and I found myself double or triple booking, like doing 2 episodes in one day, then an episode the next day. Wow. And now I have like 40 episodes in the vault.
Congratulations.
Because I was just so hooked.
Yeah.
And I couldn't say no.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a combination of just like the blessing of Make a Park, the feeling of having the convos, and then the healing of it as well.
I really resonate with that. Yeah. You know, it's like, that's really cool. That's really cool. I love that. I love that for you. I love that for your audience. And, you know, may it continue to go and move forward with your pod in a good way. May it grow. And, you know, it's like, it's awesome. Like, I love hearing it. And it's like, you know, obviously we're sitting here on this podcast, and, you know, from shout out to everyone and everything, and how everything that got this podcast to where it is today. You know, and
it's an amazing one. You're doing such a lovely job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's
the setup is absolute.
Yeah, amazing. Shout out to Kenny. Shout out to you know, Kenny. It's like I had the kind of like the opposite spectrum stuff. Where like I was doing the pod like we were doing it at first with Ariel. She had all the equipment, and we were sitting in a space that somebody let her use, and we did like 2 or 3 episodes, and then like. It was my pod. It wasn't. She had given it to me, and then like I had no idea. I had no equipment. I like went. I need a MacBook. Like I need a Yeti microphone.
You see all you need. Yep.
And then it was just that. Then when I was doing with another friend of mine, we were just using the one microphone in my room. Got it. You know, we're just sitting there like, because this is Yeti, so it's fire microphone, you know, so it worked fine. We just had to like do, you know. And so what it is now is like, like
the best, right?
Not for nothing. Like I don't even think that I gave it the reverence in the past episode. Because I was just thinking about a lot of other things that I'm focused on making, like, come to reality and to fruition. But, like, whether I wanted it or, like, not, here it is. You know? And, like, and I'm so grateful for it. Because in a way, so, like, you know, you have a dream, you want it to come to reality. But you don't always know how it's going to manifest. I had no idea. I've always wanted to create safe spaces for people to be able to be themselves, to show different spectrums of themselves they don't normally feel comfortable in showing, to show that moon aspect of them, you know, like not what's shining in the daylight, like what's lurking in the dark, you know, like, to give that space to feel safe to do that. I always wanted that, and like I cultivated that with the moon meetings and doing that for 6 years, and like, but the pod makes it in a whole other way do that, and that is a dream come true. And I want to put respect on Duality's name like that. I want to put respect to, you know, to Hub 17 like that, you know, for assisting that dream to come to reality. Because like I didn't even know, you know. It's funny, like I knew I wanted to do that, but I didn't think it was gonna be in the way of like sitting down with a microphone and doing that. But life is so interesting because in middle school I was in media. Did I pretend I was sick every time I had to give the situation? Yeah, I did. I was shocked. I didn't want to demonstrate shit. I was like, but I was still in media. So it would seem that life was preparing me. Not that I was necessarily paying attention, but, you know, somewhere, somehow, I'm sure it played a part. And, like, that's
beautiful.
That's the thing, you know. That's the thing with stuff is, like, we don't know what we don't know. And even what we do know, we don't know so much more. The more you know, the more you don't know. And, like,
Yeah.
That's that, you know? Something that I wanted to share with you guys. The thing I wanted to share with you guys earlier that I've been like holding in to not share before this pod. So last night, on a very serious note, I had a near-death experience. Like, shit was, like, really fucking crazy. Like,
wow.
I was in the room, like, on a ladder. And it was, like, 7-foot ladder or so.
Are you building the room still?
Yeah, like, I was, like, trying to put something. It's funny enough. Gotcha. I had gotten this this scale at this, like, cool antique store across from Joe's and Pat's. It's, like,
really
an
cool
oddity
shop.
store. Yeah, it's a really cool. And it's, like, a hanging scale, like a Libra scale looking, like, you know, the one that have the little offices, but it's like hanging one. So I was like, I want to hang this on the ceiling, but the ceiling's kind of high, so I'm on the ladder, and like my friend let me borrow this ladder. I didn't realize that this ladder like extends that way too. It like becomes longer. So like I've just been using
completely
it.
V'd up.
Yeah, and I've been using this ladder, and every time I open it, I click it. I haven't clicked it too far, so I didn't even get to see that it did that. I opened it, and I heard it click, but it could have just been me putting it down on the ground, and I thought it clicked. Moral of the story is I was doing too much. I was having a conversation. I was holding this balance scale. I was dusting. I was doing a lot, you know? And so I'm talking to the people that are in the room with me and, like, my friends, and I'm up, and then all of a sudden, I was up, like, I mean, I was on the top of it, and I was just down. Like, literally, I just, and I didn't even know what happened. Like, I just hit the ground so hard, like, my foot hit the ladder. You know, like, I'm just, I'm grateful, you know, grateful to everything that saved me. Because if I would have felt any other way, at the bare minimum, I would have broke something. At first when I hit the ground, I was like, is my bone sticking out? Like, like I didn't know, because I was in a lot of pain. Like, I'm still in a lot of pain. But, like, I you know, was like, what the fuck? Like, I was in such shock that I stopped breathing, you know? And my friend's mom rushed in the room, and she, like, you know, she, like, grabbed me water, and she was like, you know, and she grounded me, just simply, like, giving me water. And I was just like, because I was just like, just nothing, like, because I was just, like, assessing, because I'm sitting on top of this ladder, and I'm up. Like, I'm just sitting like that, and I'm like, I don't know where I begin and where the ladder ends, and I couldn't, like, feel the bottom half of my body, so I was just like, okay, breathe. Like, first thing you need to do is breathe, right? So that happened so fucking quick, man.
Damn.
Because I was, like, over here doing a lot. Funny enough, like, holding this thing that symbolizes balance, but fighting too hard to find it, right? Instead of just being present, instead of just slowing down, instead of just feeling into the flow of just like, you know, maybe right now is not the time to do that, or maybe just do one thing at a time, you know? And if it's something my elder always said is like, slow down, mija, take a breath. Take a breath. You know, he always said that to me because, like, sometimes I get excited, I talk really fast, or I do too many things. And, yeah, man. So when that shit happened, it took a little second. And they like removed the ladder. And once they removed the ladder, I was like, okay. They started moving my legs, and I'm like, okay, I can move them. They're not broken. And then I felt like I have, like, some, like, serious, like, I don't know if I ever bruised. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, you know, I'm just going to pray that I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to pray that I'm good here. You know, but, like, the bruise is, like, black. Like, it's crazy. Wow. It's, like, insane. You know, it's, like,
oh, man.
But once again, if I would have fell in any other way, that could have been clipped, like, for my leg, for walking, for who knows what.
Oh, my goodness.
You know,
I'm so happy you're okay.
Yeah, me too. I mean, grateful that, you know, that I landed right side up. You know, so it's like it was a scary moment. But the reason why I wanted to bring that on the pod today, because I took an extra long, really, I fucking cleaned. When I tell you I cleaned this, like, the room was clean, but I cleaned it, like, spiritually, I cleaned it. emotionally, mentally, physically, I'm from top to bottom, like, in such a thorough way. Like, I was on the floor with a rag and prayers and Florida water, like, just like, yo, like, I was just like, I needed to get knocked on my ass, literally. Like, I needed to get knocked on my ass, because it's like, as much as I'm doing a lot of things right now, and I thought I would have a lot of things finished by this month, I don't have everything finished, and that's okay. And I just need to slow down and meet myself where I'm at, and everything will fall into place. Yeah. Or I will fall on my ass again. So and hopefully, and you know, so it's like, talk about getting chin checked by spirit, man. Like, that was crazy, but simultaneously, like, having that, like, I've had a few near death experiences, and in my life, where it's like, and what I identify, like, near death experiences, NDEs could be like, I mean, it could be categorized in different ways. Like, my category is like, it comes with a certain feeling, where it's like there's a feeling, like an absence, like yo, I might die. Like it's like when time freezes and you're like, I might not make it. Like, that's what for me is what I classify as it. Because it's like, although it wasn't the highest ladder, although, you know, but it was like fucking, like, the floor is so hard, I like broke the floor. It's just crazy, like crazy, like the ladder broke the floor, but like it's, but the floor is like stone, you know. It was like some kind of like tile. It's tile, you know, and it was so bad. But like I say, and I bring this on the pod because, you know, I had a whole different plan for what I wanted to do last night. And once I got dropped, I realized, like, you know, my friend had came in, like, after I was like, she's like, eat something. I was able to eat. I was able to be thorough. Everything changed in what I was going to do, but I still did everything that I actually needed to do. To the point that, you know, like, I literally, before I left my room, like, before I left my spa room, I literally just, like, on my knees was praying, like, yo, like, thank you for keeping me safe. Like, that could have been crazy. You know, like, that could have been different, you know. And it just goes to show you, like, how life is so precious, and, like, fucking haste makes waste. I don't know how much times I have to get that through my thick skull, but, like, you know, maybe it's the city in me, maybe it's like the Gemini. I don't know, it could be anything, right? It could be so many different things, right? But it's, you know, slowing down, man, is just like, there's a difference between slowing down and settling, like, and when I say, like, settling, I mean settling for, like, being more sluggish. Like, I don't mean settling like, oh, settling in, right? I feel like there's, like, the sluggishness of, like, you know, you're settling, or, like, for, like, doing bare minimum, and then they're slowing down from doing the most. That's where I'm trying to be.
Gotcha.
Like, is right in between. And, like I said, I just wanted to bring that on the pod because, like, yo, what? You know what I mean? Like, that's just, like, you really never know. And it's just, like, life will constantly show you that.
Yeah. There's these humbling moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't have expected that, but it's good you were able to take that moment and be like, all right. Because how I'm looking at it, you were so in the moment, you kind of lost track of the moment too. So it's interesting because you were like, oh, I was all, but you were enjoying yourself. You were doing, but of course, multitasking.
I was in, like, multi-dimensions of the moment.
Yeah,
like, I thought I was an octopus or something. Like,
yeah. You were maybe out of your realm in terms of the repairing the wall or whatever. What maybe that wasn't, but all good. But I'm good. I'm happy you're okay. I'm happy you took it as a lesson. And I can't imagine. How'd the scale? Is it up or is it on?
I went back on the.
Oh,
I put it low. But it took me a little bit. It took me a few hours. Like, I was like, I said it. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to go back on that ladder. I'm like, I need to smudge this ladder. I'm like, you know, like, and then I'm like, it's not the ladder's fault, girl. It's not the ladder's fault.
No, I love it. I feel like you could take that all those interactions, and you could probably, like, make a Disney movie. You could pitch a Disney movie with characters swapped out and the lessons learned from that, using metaphors from that.
Yeah.
Like, that story could... And clearly it inspired you. I feel like you could apply that story and share it and inspire others. Even if it's not even that example, but your lesson, and, you know, so that's amazing
and
that you were able to kind of just,
getting back up. Like, it's like I stayed on the floor. Like, I literally, like, I was on the floor. Everything I was doing was on the floor. Like, I was mopping. I was Cinderella mopping. Like, I was sweeping. I was sweeping. I was doing all the things on the floor. And then I just kept sitting on the floor and stretching on the floor. And then I was like, okay, am I going to let this be the reason? I know why it happened. It happened because I didn't click it. It didn't happen because the wind blew me off. It happened because I didn't realize, you know, and like now I understand the root cause. I understand the dysfunction.
Of course.
So now am I going to let that store into me as a fear of ladders and never go on a ladder again? Or am I going to, like, still respectfully, I still smudged it and wiped it down Florida, but, like, I put it back up.
There you go.
I checked it. I checked it again. I checked it 5 more times. I stepped on it. I stepped down. I stepped on the second. I stepped back down. And then I finally went up. And then, and I was on the ladder, actually, for, like, probably, like, a half hour because I had to, like, fix other higher things.
Oh, wow. I like that part of the story, that you continued, you even got back on it.
Yeah.
I think that's just amazing. And thank you for sharing that story, because there's so much, there's a few good lessons in that, and I appreciate you sharing. And yeah, it wasn't a sign that, like, one bad thing doesn't mean one bad life, or doesn't mean one bad career because you had one bad client. You know what I mean? It's just like one weird moment, and that's, what do you do with the moment?
And you're either going to transmute it or you're going to fall into it. And, like, one thing I just kept saying to myself is, I'm not going to store this. I'm not going to store this as a fear, because that's how most people, you know, they get bit by a dog. So anytime they see a dog, they're afraid. You know what I'm saying? And, like, or it's like a danger. It's an aspect, but it gets stored in the body. And, like, my perspective. And, like, so when I came home, I was like, I can't store this in my body. So I prepared certain herbs. I did a certain thing. I made, like, a steam sauna of, like, herbs to, like, to sweat it out of my body. I went to sleep at like 4 o'clock in the morning because I left the spot like 12:30.
Okay.
So then I was like, you know what?
Wired off the motions. And
not even. I was tired. I was tired. Yep. No, I was tired. I was like, but I knew. I'm like, either I'm tired and I'm going to push through what I know I need to do now, or I could potentially have things happen. Like, this is like, my leg might not be as okay as it is today if I didn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, like, I knew I needed to hit it with heat. I needed to, like, expand it so it's not contracting and like, sitting in a weird way. I believe in the power of prayer, whether you call it intention, whatever you call it, whatever practice you have. Like, you know, in indigenous ways, like, this is what we do. We go back to the herbs, we go back to the water, we go back to the medicine. And I just asked it to show me, like, how can I heal my body right now? This is what I need. I don't want to store this fear. I don't want to store this trauma. I need to keep moving forward. I'm ready to move forward. Like, I'm ready to continue to make these dreams a reality. And even though this made me stumble and fall, like, I'm ready to get back up. You know, I won't run. I'll walk. I'll even crawl if you need me to. But I got to keep the motion going. I don't want to sit anymore.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah.
Congrats on whatever you're building. I look forward to hearing about it.
Yeah,
that's freaking awesome.
I opened up an LLC. It's called Dualitea. So I'm doing Dualitea Holistics. All of the things that I've been studying and doing for 7+ years, I'm just creating a space for it. So it has everything from energetic facials to tarot card readings to body contouring to
Wow, cool.
Lymphatic drainage with like the Colombian wood therapy.
Cool.
It has also things for feminine health and different herbal remedies and things of that sort. I'm an herbal school dropout. I'm hopping back into herbal school in a few months, but I have a decent amount of knowledge on herbs. So like, you know,
good for you.
That. So
that's
it's a combination of all of that. You know, I want to provide that space for Staten Island. You know, it's like how many years of studying and doing the physical hands-on and literally traveling hours and putting in the work do I need to like rack up 17 certifications for me to deem myself worthy enough to put myself out there?
I agree. I think getting in the game, you know, being qualified, it doesn't apply that. But for you, you've been doing these things and you've proven that you are helping people, and you're not saying you're a doctor. You know what I mean? You're saying you're doing what you're saying.
I'm helping people.
You don't
learn how
need
to
someone.
help
You don't need to be verified by anyone else, but who? Yeah,
really.
you know that, and then of course your crowd and your community. If you have that audience built in,
it's like your what you said when we were talking about the light and the dark. Like it's like, how do you find the light in the dark? It's like you remember why, like past all of the darkness of the what is it? The imposter syndrome or the fear of hurting people or anything. Like you remember why. Like I literally want to do this because I want to do this for you. I want to do this for me. I want to do this for humanity because I believe that there's natural ways that we can go back to ourselves. And like even when it's down to my facials and like the body contouring, like I have take home sheets for my clients to, if say for example I have a client that wants to lose weight, instead of just being like, girl, I'm gonna finesse you, you know, we're gonna work on this curve here, and like it's like, what is your goal? Okay, how can you learn to love yourself through that process? So like going home and like rubbing your belly and being like, I love you, you're nourishing. Like thank God I put on some weight, because if I would have fell from the ceiling with that damn ladder and I didn't shit, I would have broke my ass. For real. So like I'm grateful, you know what I'm saying? Even though at times like, you know, I get discomfort with the different spectrums. Like the thing is like, why not come to me or a person like me? You know, because I reference mad people, like, but I only reference people that I really actually like believe in and know like that are aligned in those moral ways, because I'm living it. I'm doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? I need somebody to come in there and use my machine on me, because it's kind of awkward to do it like that. So, you know, so it's
that's
like
real.
I go to a person, you know, like shout out to my friend Genesis, who like, so Renew Wellness is the location, and then my business Dualitea Holistics is inside of Renew Wellness. Renew Wellness great. Is all about renewing yourself, you know. Beautiful. So this is actually the first time I'm talking about it.
Wow.
Yeah. So like, just
beautiful. I can't wait to see this and see it grow, and
I'll definitely let you know when we have the opening. I just see how passionate you are
about it. So I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. Thank you. I just want to fucking help you, man. I just want to help people and help myself. Like that's it. Like I just want to be honest about it. Yeah. I want to be realistic about it. Like you don't need me to help you, but if you want a guide, I'm not your guru, but I'll be your guide. Yeah, and I could share with you the things that I've learned along my journey, what I'm still learning, because there's something that, some proverb from some person, you know, with all due reverence, not remembering, they say that you teach what you most need to learn, you know? And I'm like, oh, shit. There was that one, and there was another Japanese proverb that was like, your face is the person that you loved in a past life. So just tap into that. And I was like, oh my God. Like, that's crazy.
A thing that I've been implementing pretty heavy is when you either go to read something, you listen to someone, you're watching something to learn it good enough to teach it yourself. Even if it's a PowerPoint, 5 bullet points where you could sit with me, I could be like, yo, this, and this. But like that approach of opening yourself up to learn has been a game changer for me. Like how do I watch this Rick Rubin interview and not just sit there and just so be like, oh, okay, I listened to it. How could I then tell my friend Paul
about it
and teach him what?
That's an important point.
If you could learn something, anything that you're like,
I
oh,
feel
I want
like
to
when
learn,
you
and
pivot
you could
that, it makes you absorb it in a different way.
Oh,
you
you're
like
in a whole
store it
different.
in a different
You're
way.
in a whole different tiger stance.
Yeah,
when you're like, I want to learn to then be able to teach it, not to become a teacher or a master at
even if you
Rick
don't
Rubin.
teach it. It's just a good way to like store it in your brain because it sits different.
Because you're receiving it different. Yeah. And you're open to taking notes. You're open to then remix it for someone else. Yeah. And break it down. And I think and for me, that's been a game changer for me. And just like, how do I listen to this Jay-Z thing and then learn it good enough or take it in good enough to then be able to share it as a lesson, share it as a class, share it as a convo, a PowerPoint presentation, a carousel post on IG, where I could break it down and then someone could learn from that. And I think that's what life's all about, you know, as you said, helping people.
Yeah. Helping people and helping ourselves because we are people, right?
Of course,
you know?
Yeah, we got to help ourselves to be able to get in that.
And just finding your niche, you know, like for me to like, it's taken me like 7-8 years for me to like, probably more considering like, that's just how long I've been certified into things. But, you know, you have to think about wanting to get certified before you're doing that, right? So it's like, it's been a good amount of years and finally finding the confidence to do that. Like I found like my pocket is like, I personally like to help remove things from people. So that they can create the things that they need, you know, so whether that's energetically, you know, I'm also certified in tattoo removal. That's going to be an offering that I'm going to provide as well. And it's like, you know, just taking things away to make, you know, sometimes people make mistakes. Like, you gotta make room for the things that you want to create and flourish. And, and if it doesn't bring you joy anymore, you know, so even something that seems permanent still, you know, can be broken down if you're willing to put in that work or like find, you know, the means to do it. Yeah. You know, so I just want to thank you so much.
Oh, of course. Thank you for having me.
Great conversation, man. That's always
amazing.
Like,
shout out to the whole Dualitea Familia.
Thank you. Yeah.
And Hub, Ken, and I appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, appreciate you being
here. The tea, the mangoes.
Appreciate you being here.
You raised the bar for next time I go to a pot. I'm like, what? No mangoes? But no, thank you.
The bar is set high. The standard is set high. And I just want to, you know, if I could plug in real quick, are you okay with that?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
I just want to say thank you so much for this fly high. This is so cool.
The Shaolin colorway.
It's the 3D aspect for me, the actual, like, you know, the mixtape on there. So I just want to say thank you so much.
Oh, of course.
And
it's not even on the site. No,
exclusive.
I just
and
like
it's one of my
the
one-on-one
vibes with my homees. So
I appreciate that.
Or if you find me at an event, maybe people could get one. But certain pieces are just
as they should be. You know, but I'm honored.
Enjoy.
I'm honored. You know, I'm gonna take it up. I'm gonna have hat hair. So y'all see the picture later. But I just want to conclude with, I have this book. Yeah. It's called Peace of Mind. And
cool.
Yeah, so like there's 2 spectrums I want to hit. If you don't mind, would you like to read today's meditation?
Where am I go?
So it's just this page.
I'm too busy?
Yeah. So February 22nd.
February 22nd. I'm too busy. I could barely see the numbers on my calendar for all the meetings, talks, appointments, programs, deadlines, and classes penciled into. The little squares. Linda Weltner. Self-inflicted stress is the voluntary creation of too much to do in too little time. It usually begins simply and innocently enough with an offer on your part to help out. What happens next is like a snowball rolling downhill. Help out turns into support, which turns into share, which turns into organize, and finally into single-handedly manage. Yet rather than cease to offer help when you're already overwhelmed, you may actually jump at the next opportunity to lend a hand. Why? Perhaps it makes you feel good. Maybe you enjoy keeping busy. Or perhaps You just can't say no. But what you may not realize is that the real reasons for your giving nature could be unhealthy. You may help others because you want them to like you. You may like being busy because you're afraid of unstructured time. Or you may feel good only when satisfying the needs of others. The next time you take on an additional responsibility, ask yourself, what is it that I really want to get out of this? Then be sure to set aside as much time for yourself so you can do the things you want to do. I'll stop structuring my life as an endless series of tasks and responsibilities. Today, I'll allow myself some unstructured time.
If that didn't bring everything full circle. It's like, once again, when I asked you, how do you bring the light in the dark? You're like, you know your why. That's talking about knowing your why.
That's real.
That's like,
That's
this book
time.
does a thing every time. It's like, it's ripped in half. This book is going through
that's
it. Like,
good. That means you're using that shit.
Yeah, like I found it in a thrift store.
I love seeing used up books and
right?
noted in and written in.
I highlighted. I'm a big highlighter person. In my books, like every time I pass on, you're gonna know how I feel about that book because I'll highlight it.
Yeah.
I'll be like that part, like little
That's
faces.
Great. You're taking it in to learn it, to then share it.
Apply my teachings and my highlights in it.
That's real.
And I want to just bring that bring the to conclusion of the pod because I know I gotta conclude it for now.
Yeah.
And what is the message for anybody that's listening to this pod that's open to receiving a message? What is it that we need to hear right now? What would be beneficial to hear this time? You can't have a positive as fuck life with a negative as fuck mind. If you find yourself with a head full of crap, go watch some videos of babies laughing or goats excitement fainting or old people cursing. It's helpful to think of laughing as a mental pooper scooper. You got to get the turds out so that you have room for fresh and lovely thoughts. It's so true. After everything happened yesterday, I was just laughing. I was like, after like the realness came in, now I was just laughing. Like that's one of the ways of like how transmute. I truly believe that laughter is a transmutation of sometimes you can't laugh, sometimes you can't cry, and you laugh. Sometimes laughter is, and sometimes laughter is just like because that vibration in your body. Once again, it's moving things so they don't find nooks and stay. So
that's real.
Okay, well.
I'm all about like taking life serious and then not taking life serious. Like how could we just kind of laugh a little bit?
Yeah.
Which I think why TikTok crushes it. It gives people, everyone has different views on it and stuff, but if you just take it as a chance to enjoy and laugh a little bit and get away, and then you could get back to being serious and doing your dreams and all that, and or making people laugh.
For sure, and you can get serious on there too, because the thing is, it's going directly to the people. Like certain questions that you have, like you could speak it to Google or something, but you're gonna get it from a specific doctor, specific niche. Like you put it onto TikTok, sometimes you're gonna get. You get from the people. So you get from like a collective, like, okay, swipe. Okay, that person said that, swipe. Okay, that person said that, swipe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, it could be used however, exactly. So
that's real. Thank you for sharing those.
Thank you for wanting to read and for being on here. And like, if you want to share any of your plugs or anything, feel free.
Yeah. For anyone tuned in, just Dave Noodles with a Z. Just say hi. And once again, if anyone was listening earlier,
check out his podcast.
You could find all my links to the other stuff I do and the companies and business and pods. And say what up. And as I said, I'm never too busy. Even though I'm busy, I'm never too busy for anyone to just reach out. If they have a question, they're trying, they feel stuck or they want to level up. And anything in between, just send me a message. Be like, yo, trying to dream more. Oh, how do I mail this? I want to send a big box to. Israel. How do I do it? Whatever, I'll try my best. And if I don't know, I'll be like, hey, check out this person if I can, if I do know. So yeah, reach out, Dave Noodles. And thank you for having me, my friend.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you for being here. And the final thing I want to say that I realized I didn't say because I haven't been doing a good job of promoting it. Tomorrow, my brand Ashes and Herbs drops, the first drop. So stay tuned for that. Follow that on Instagram if you haven't. Once again, haven't been doing the best to do the online stuff, but just been doing the in-person stuff.
There you go.
So tomorrow is the drop.
Congrats.
Stay tuned for that. Thank you. And yeah, see you guys next week.